where superheroes meet high fashion. In conjunction with the Red 5 Network, we're proud to present Comics and Cosmetics.
He's the definition of a Jedi Master. The archetype for how we should all perceive the Jedi. And he always has the high ground.
Get ready, nerdlings, because we're diving in to Obi-Wan Kenobi. What is up, nerdlings, and welcome back to my channel! Alright, good job. Did you miss me? I know I took a whole week off from the channel, and I am back. I am here. I missed you too. I'm refreshed, and I'm ready to get my comics and cosmetics on, yo. Speaking of which, did you check out the sweet shirt I'm rocking today? Oh, yes. Pay no attention to the towel in my hand. That's right, my little nerdlings. You can get this shirt in this design or two others. So we have 3 designs total, and there are t-shirts, baseball shirts, hoodies, mugs, phone cases, totes, pillows, you name it, we've got it. Just check our TeePublic store out right there. Yeah, help yourself, guys. There's plenty of stickers and everything. If you're new, welcome. Make sure you use the Force and smash the like button, smash the subscribe, and ring the bell so you can get notified whenever I'm back with another one of these magnificent videos. I'm Danny Sonsasi, licensed cosmetologist and registered super nerd, and this is Comics and Cosmetics, where I talk about whatever nerdy topic I've been obsessing about that week while doing my makeup at the same time, while you watch. This week, as I told you from the future, we are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
Now, pay no attention to my zit, okay? I know it's hard. Imagine how I feel. Now, I'm sure you noticed that yesterday, the new Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi, just dropped its first 2 episodes. And don't worry, we're going to talk about that tomorrow and every Sunday until Kenobi's over. Me and a couple of my friends, we kind of like hanging out and talking about this stuff. Yeah? But I figured with Obi-Wan coming out, might be a good time to really dive in and talk about his character. Because a lot of us know who he is, but it's all a very surface level knowledge. And the information I have on him has been pulled from about 6 movies and several different TV series, a couple of which being animated. So, not to mention comic books, novelizations. So I'm going to try and compile the greatest hits to paint a picture of our epitome of Jedi Knightness. Okay, there's a fly in here. It's disgusting. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi was born in 57 BBY on the planet known as Stujon. Now, there is a funny story behind the planet of Stujon in the respect that it did not exist in the Star Wars universe until Jon Stewart asked George Lucas himself, hey, where was Obi-Wan Kenobi born? Like, I don't see that anywhere. So, old George created the planet Stujon. Get it? Jon Stewart, Stu, John. And therefore, ever since, that has been the planet of Obi-Wan Kenobi's birth. That's pretty cool. I mean, Mr. Lucas, I have some questions too. I mean, I'd like some things named after me. I have been harassing everyone I know half my life to name a child after me, but that's not working out. So I was really hoping I could get like a planet. Get back to me on that. Send you my email. Well, and if you will recall from our previous Star Wars videos, Boba Fett, Sabine Wren, then you already know that BBY means before the Battle of Yavin. So, if Obi-Wan Kenobi was born in 57 before the Battle of Yavin, then that means he was born 57 years before the Battle of Yavin. And the Battle of Yavin, when did that take place? Oh, a little film we call A New Hope. So, BBY before the Battle of Yavin, making the Battle of Yavin 0 BBY, because it was 0 years before the Battle of Yavin. He was first played by Sir Alec Guinness, who was a classically trained Shakespearean actor who is absolutely horrified to be in this silly space movie. But I think he'd be very, very happy to see how much Star Wars and the mythology behind it, the Jedi dogma, has legitimately helped so many people all over the world since 1977. That's a true story. I mean, Sir Alec Guinness saying, "Hello there." He was fantastic. I dare to say that some of the most memorable moments in the original trilogy, in A New Hope, came from Sir Alec Guinness. Of course, you couldn't get Sir Alec Guinness to reprise his role for the prequels because he was gone. And, not a teenager or 20 years old. So, enters Ewan McGregor. That's right, the kid from Trainspotting. I've got to rid my sights, Miss Moneypenny. We're going to cut that. That was terrible. And he has been Obi-Wan Kenobi ever since. So since 1999. Well, as we said a few moments ago, Obi-Wan was born in 57 BBY on the planet Stujon. As a youngling, it was discovered that he was a Force-sensitive child and quite strong in the Force. So like most Force-sensitive younglings, he was sent to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and given over to the Jedi Order to complete his training to become a Jedi Master. It was there that he trained with the likes of Master Yoda. He was very strong in the Force. He was one of the best students that they had, but he was also a little stubborn and rebellious. And by the time came for Obi-Wan to become a Padawan learner, Master Yoda had the perfect master for him. And that was none other than Qui-Gon Jinn, who was a bit of a rebel himself. Now, for those who do not know, Jedis, at least the more traditional, especially, around this era, they were very strict. And you were not allowed to have strong attachments to anyone or anything other than basically the Jedi Order and their rules and regulations. So it is a requirement of all Padawans, anyone who's studying the Jedi arts, anyone who becomes a Jedi, that you forego all and any and all personal attachments. This includes your parents, any kind of familial or romantic love, period. So no boyfriends, no girlfriends, no husbands, no wives, no mom, no dad, nothing. You leave it all behind. You renounce it. You are no longer of that family. You are now of the Jedi. It's a very monkish existence, very Spartan. Take only what you need kind of existence. Therefore, the relationship of the Jedi Master and the Padawan becomes very important. And we're going to touch back on that later. It's going to come back up. Because remember, they are to forego any and all attachments. They can't be attached to any one person, not anything, nothing. Because they felt that attachment led to fear. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Hate leads her to the dark side.
Which, in a way, I'm sure you can relate to that. I mean, I can. I get attached to somebody and I don't want to let them go. I have children. I can't imagine having to make that decision like, okay, we're going to teach you how to move things with your mind and levitate and use a lightsaber. But you can never hang out with your kids again. Oh, that's a tough one. They're awfully loud and messy. Kidding. Or am I? But as I said, that Master-Padawan relationship becomes very important, if not vital, to the young Padawan. Because one, it's a transition from that life with parents and having, a parent care for you and teach you and look over you, to now you have a similar arrangement, but it's more of a religious teaching. And while they are forming this master-student bond, they're teaching them that they shouldn't have any bonds. So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan go on several missions together because this is part of their training experience. They're apprentices. And for those of you who have gone the apprentice route rather than a physical school, it's on-the-job training. your schooling is doing the job. They've been going on missions, and some pretty dangerous. In fact, while on one mission to Mandalore, he had met a young Mandalorian woman by the name of Duchess Satine. We'll circle back to that later, too. On one such mission, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon head to Naboo, where a blockade by the Trade Federation has been put in place, prohibiting Naboo from getting any supplies. So the council had directed Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to go and oversee negotiations to try and put this nonsense to an end. So when the Viceroy realizes that they sent Jedis to the negotiations and not just senators, they freak out and they call Darth Sidious. So right away we figure out that the Trade Federation is in league with the Sith. That's never a good sign. So they call Darth Sidious and he says, "Kill them. I'll send my apprentice Darth Maul." So they fill the room with this poisonous gas to try and kill Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. But it doesn't work, because they're Jedis and they can hold their breath for a really long time. So when a sufficient amount of time has passed, the Viceroy orders the doors open and the droid army to go in and destroy what's left. But of course, when they open the door, they're not dead, and they destroy pretty much all the droids. They're like, "You're welcome for those side effects." That was all entirely with my mouth. Yeah, I made those myself. That's right. Talent. So, come to find out, there is a big plot. Huge plot. The Sith were already working on this plan to take over the Republic. And apparently where you start is the outer space version of used car salesman. So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan make it down to the planet, and they meet this guy. We're going to try as best we can not to really get into Jar Jar right now. And he helps them. They meet up with the Queen Amidala, and they take one of her fighters and get her off that planet, because she's got to get to Coruscant and she's got to tell them what's going on there. That they've got all these strict regulations and it's making it very hard for Naboo to function. And the Sith are trying to kill her. The Trade Federation's trying to kill her. And she's got no way to convince these people other than showing up her damn self. So they stop on Tatooine, and they need to, make repairs, but they're a little short on funds. So they meet this kid who's a slave. And he's like, "I got an idea. I'll win this pod race and we'll sell it for money and everything will get fixed and blah, blah, blah." Well, this kid was Anakin Skywalker. Now, he's a slave. His mother Shmi is a slave. And they've lived on Tatooine their whole lives. Well, Qui-Gon, like I said, he's a little rebellious. He's a little stubborn. Bit of a rascal. Not really, but he was a follower of what's known as the living force. You know, most Jedis are, they follow the cosmic force. That's what they focus on, the cosmic force, the thing that connects all things. Well, Qui-Gon focused on the living force, the force that connects all living things. And there was a prophecy that one will be born of the living force and bring balance to the force. Well, he meets this kid, and this kid's talking about pod racing, and they're like, that's really dangerous. He's like 7 years old, I think. He's very little, and no other human is able to do what he can do with this pod racing. So how is that possible? And they check his midi-chlorian count, which is the first time we actually hear about this, that midi-chlorians are these little creatures that live inside of you, and they are what gives you that connection to the force, or the ability to manipulate the force. Okay. I didn't think we needed that, but George Lucas did, and it's his story. So he checks Anakin's midi-chlorian count, and sure enough, this kid's midi-chlorians are off the charts. And so he starts to think that, he's the one that's going to bring balance to the force. So he calls home and he's like, hey, I think this is the one. And Yoda's like, hey, focus on your job. Pretty much. And he's like, I mean that too. And he talks to Shmi about it. And he's like, was the father, he's trying to get to the bottom of where this midi-chlorian count comes from. And he's like, what of the father? And she's like, there was no father. Fun fact, we find out through the comics later that his dad is basically Palpatine. It's kind of creepy. And a little rapey. Or Qui-Gon is like, this makes things very interesting. I think we should take this kid with us. And Obi-Wan's like, hey, we're not supposed to mess with anything else. We're just supposed to do our job and move on. And Qui-Gon's like, I got this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So after the race, they sell Anakin's pod racer. And they get enough money to not only get the repairs they need for their ship, but to free Anakin from slavery as well. Not the mom, just Anakin. It's very important. Just Anakin. Qui-Gon, you ever heard of bundling? You should have tried to bundle. Okay? Should have tried to bundle. So they take the kid with them, and Obi-Wan, even though he's a little rebellious, he's still like, this isn't what they told us to do. And Qui-Gon's like, shh, I got that. When they get back to Coruscant, Qui-Gon's like, hey, I'm going to take him on as my Padawan. And Yoda's like, no, he's very scared. There's a lot of fear in him. Duh, he's a child. He's been a slave his whole life. Yoda. And now he's just been scooped up and shipped halfway across the universe to a big scary place. You're a tiny green thing with big ears sticking out. Of course he's scared. Jedis could be real nuts sometimes. So he's like, hey Yoda, he's going to be my Padawan. And Yoda's like, nah, you already got a Padawan. And he's like, Obi-Wan's cool, all right? He's ready. And Obi-Wan's like, yeah, I'm ready to do this on my own. And they're like, we'll think about it. So, remember, we're talking about Obi-Wan here, not just Star Wars in general. So if I'm skipping over stuff, there's a reason for it, okay? I only have so much time to do my makeup, guys. During the fight, to basically free Naboo from, well, basically the Sith. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Sidious's Sith apprentice, Darth Maul, get into an epic lightsaber battle. And I mean epic. Unfortunately for Qui-Gon, though, even though Darth Maul was hacked in half, the prosthetics in the Star Wars universe is amazing. Don't worry, he's fine. Even though he's hacked in half, Darth Maul still is able to deliver a mortal blow to Qui-Gon, and he dies in Obi-Wan's arms. To honor his master, who just died in his arms, he takes on Anakin as his Padawan learner. Through the years, Obi-Wan and Anakin forge a very special bond. They become like brothers. Where Obi-Wan is now this wizened and tempered master, Anakin is headstrong, passionate, aggressive, ambitious, and these are all big no-nos for a Jedi because, they're practically Vulcans. They have emotions, but they control them at all times. And Anakin, he was young and he'd had a really hard life, so it was just a lot more difficult for him. Throughout their time together, while they're on this journey of training Anakin and, trying to stop the Sith from taking over the Republic, they didn't do a very good job. He was under their nose the whole time. While they're going through all of this, Anakin and Padme reunite for the first time in 10 years, and right away, you can tell that there's something between Anakin and Padme. And Obi-Wan, he's not stupid. He was picking up on something, and they never really say it out loud, at least not in the films. But I think he knew. I think he really knew, because there's no way that you can spend that much time with someone and be that close and not know what's going on with them, Like, your friends know when you got the hots for somebody. I promise you. As much as you try to hide it. Now, as much as I love the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I can't help but feel like he let Anakin down. He dropped the ball. Like, a lot of this stuff could have been avoided. And first, it's the stuff with Padme. He had to know something was going on. He could have helped in a way, because as we find out later, he went through something kind of similar. Well, Anakin tells Obi-Wan that he's having trouble sleeping. He's having all this trouble sleeping because he keeps having dreams about his mother crying out to him and screaming in pain. And Obi-Wan basically tells him to ignore it. That he can't have these attachments and be a Jedi. That this is why you can't have these bonds. This is why you can't have this attachment. Because it's going to distract you from what needs to be done rather than what you want to do. A very needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few type of speech. Well, Obi-Wan, even though he meant well, has kind of set Anakin up for failure by doing this, which sucks because Obi-Wan was pretty much created to be like this archetype of what a Jedi should be. He's good for the sake of it. Virtually infallible. But when we get to the prequels, we just start seeing some issues with that. So he's having these dreams, and finally he can't take it anymore. So he goes to Tatooine and finds out that Shmi had gotten married and had a stepbrother named Owen. And he said, your mom's missing. She got kidnapped by sand people. Wow. That's terrifying. Anakin finds where she is and slaughters all the sand people. The women, the children, everybody. Slaughters them all. But he's too late because she dies in his arms. Like, wow. Anakin has a shit life. Like, already at this point, he's had this terrible, terrible life. And Obi-Wan was not happy with him. I believe had Obi-Wan, and it isn't really Obi-Wan's fault. The failing is with the Jedi Order, period. Something I feel should have been addressed better in the dreaded sequel trilogies. But we'll talk about that another time. But I believe the Jedi Order, not just Ben or Obi-Wan, were at fault here. They dropped the ball because of the strict rules they have. It's outside of human nature. Had he not been so restrictive to that, then I firmly believe that Anakin wouldn't have killed all those Tuskens. There would have been a better way had he had help. But he was so filled with emotion, hurt, pain, anger, rage, all of it, that he just went homicidal. He hadn't seen his mom in 10 years, and when he does, it's to hold her dying. I mean, it's so sad. But all this did was kind of push Anakin more towards, his relationship with Padme, his secret relationship, and, secret marriage, and then secret pregnancy. I think Obi-Wan knew about that stuff because, like I said, there's no way he couldn't have known. But he kept it to himself. He never said a word of it, but I feel like he should have, because maybe it could have avoided all of this. But then we wouldn't have Star Wars. The end! So, during the Clone Wars, and this is something that you would find on the actual Clone Wars TV show, the animated series, Anakin and Obi-Wan go to Mandalore because there is a big civil war going on. And the more peaceful Mandalorians, which this just sounds so weird. It still sounds weird to me. These peaceful Mandalorians are being attacked by Death Watch because they don't like the peaceful ways. I'm inclined to agree. I mean, they're Mandalorians, they're warriors, be warriors. Forget about it. I'm not giving my opinion. I do all the time. Anyway. And guess who they've decided to rule from the peaceful Mandalorians, but Duchess Satine. And he even says to her that had she just said the word, he would have left the Jedi Order for her. So, Obi-Wan got it. Like, he really understood. He understood that. So I don't understand why. I don't know. It's just a plot hole, and I'm going to have to learn to move on with my life. Fat chance. Satine has a sister, Bo-Katan Kryze. Badass. Lover. We know Satine, okay? We know her sister, Bo-Katan Kryze, okay? So where'd this kid come from? Bo-Katan and Satine both refer to him as their nephew, okay? But they have no other siblings. He looks an awful lot like Obi-Wan, don't you think? So I'm thinking that Satine and Obi-Wan had a baby. Corky. What a dumb name. Corky Kryze. Corky Kenobi, if you will. See, this is where I think... This is where they should have gone with the sequel trilogies. If we're, just giving opinions now. Instead of making Rey a Palpatine, she should have been a Kenobi. There, I said it. She could have been like Corky Kenobi's kid. Say that 5 times fast. Like, wow, you guys really missed an opportunity there to explain something. Just give Dave Filoni full reins and it'll come out that he's a Kenobi. And along this time, that's when, Anakin gets his Padawan, Ahsoka. She's so cool. Flash forward, Anakin's married to Padme. She's pregnant with their twins on the way. And Palpatine has his hooks full on into Anakin. Like, Anakin's been having all these dreams about Padme dying. And, he had dreams that his mom died and that came true. So he's kind of freaking the F out at this point. Like, Palpatine gives him the story of Darth Plagueis, which was, his old master. And he taught him how to cheat death. So he basically tells him, come to the dark side. We cheat death. And we have cookies. So Anakin is just tired of everyone's nonsense. And Sidious, or Palpatine, tells him, hey, go kill all these Jedi kids. And he's like, okay. Well, while Anakin is on Coruscant killing younglings, Obi-Wan and Yoda and all the other Jedi Masters are out with the clone armies, fighting the war. And, throughout the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan formed relationships with Commander Cody, Captain Rex, like Ahsoka did. Every Jedi Master had a squad or a legion of clone soldiers that they were in command of. And, if you've ever been in a situation like that where you're in charge of a group of people, especially soldiers, that's a very tight bond. Again, another little hypocritical Jedi thing. Well, what they did not know, even though Obi-Wan is the one who discovered that Sifo-Dyas had created all of these clones off of the bounty hunter Jango Fett. He's the one who went out to Kamino and discovered all this stuff. He's the one who fought Jango Fett on Kamino. They come to find out that Palpatine had implanted this switch in their brain. And when they say enact Order 66, they mean go kill all the Jedi. So while, Anakin's out there killing Jedi and younglings left and right, Obi-Wan and Yoda are all in the battlefield. And Order 66. Ah! They all turned their back on their Jedi commanders and started killing them all. So they find him on Mustafar, Padme and Obi-Wan, and they think between the two of them, maybe they can talk him down, talk some sense into him and stuff. And nope. Anakin force chokes pregnant Padme, and that's when she decides to give up on life, despite having 2 children about to come out of her. Not my choice. In order to save Padme from Anakin, get him to let go of her, Obi-Wan attacks, and thus begins one of the most epic lightsaber duels of all time. You were the chosen one. You were my brother, Anakin. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. And then he cuts off his arms and legs. Well, and then Padme has the babies, Luke and Leia, who they decide they must immediately be split up because, Anakin doesn't need to know he has kids. I honestly think that was a bad decision as well, because if anyone's going to make you straighten up and fly right, it's your kids. So they send Luke with his Uncle Owen on Tatooine, and General Bail Organa is like, my wife and I have been wanting a little girl. Well, we've got a boy too. Why don't you take both of them? No, I said little girl. We just want a little girl. So Leia gets to go and live as a princess in the lap of luxury, while Luke gets to live on a farm in a desert collecting moisture. That seems fair. Well, Obi-Wan agrees to go to Tatooine, deliver the baby, and stay nearby so he can keep an eye on the kid and make sure, Vader doesn't come for him or anything. As far as Vader knows, Padme's dead and the baby's died with her. So Obi-Wan does that. He takes the baby, delivers it to Owen and Veru, and then stays nearby. But Owen doesn't like Obi-Wan. He blames Obi-Wan for everything that happened to Anakin. Like Anakin blamed Obi-Wan for turning Padme against him and for not going to help his mom. He blames Obi-Wan for all of that. As Vader, he blames Obi-Wan for Padme's death. Because he's immature. I mean, if you think about it, Anakin has been emotionally stunted since he was like 8 years old. So he can't handle these things like a mature human being would. He's going to act very immaturely. And so he's like, it's your fault she's dead. Like Obi-Wan has any control over that. Like apparently Padme was the only one who had control over life because she just gave up the will to live. But in the comics, it shows that, Obi-Wan did stay away for quite a while, hiding out in this cave, away from civilization, but he found it too outside his nature and too difficult to resist to help people, to save people from danger and stuff. And he actually saved Owen, like Jabba the Hutt sent Black Chrysanthemum to kidnap Owen Lars, kill him for not paying his tribute to Hutt. And it's Obi-Wan that saves him. And that's where Chrysanthemum got that scar above his eye. It's from Obi-Wan's lightsaber. But just like Anakin blamed Obi-Wan for all his problems, Owen blamed Obi-Wan for Anakin's problems too. This is a family of emotionally inadequate people. And after... Hi, it's Danny from the future. I got distracted, as I sometimes do, and I forgot the most important thing that happened to Obi-Wan while he was on Tatooine, watching out for Luke. So he's on Tatooine, and this comes from the animated series Rebels. And young Ezra Bridger finds these holocrons, and Darth Maul is able to manipulate Ezra through these holocrons to get Obi-Wan to come out in the open. Because Maul's done lost his damn mind. Yeah, he was cut in half, but he got these cool spider legs, which were really scary and creepy. And then he lost his mind more, and he got normal legs, but he was hell-bent on revenge of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just hell-bent. It's all he could focus on. He would talk to himself and say,
I'm lost, and yet I can so feel his presence. He is near. I can see him in my mind's eye. My mind's eye. Kenobi. Kenobi!
I don't do that as well as, Sam Witwer. But Ezra Bridger is manipulated by Maul into bringing Obi-Wan out into the open, and in a very quick but really intense and awesome lightsaber battle, Kenobi kills Maul once and for all. Yeah, he does. And as Maul is dying, he asks Kenobi if he was the chosen one. And Kenobi tells him he is. And even in his last moments alive, Maul chooses hate and says he will avenge us, and then dies. So, there you go. I should have said that earlier. Moving on. Leia and Luke grow up, and Luke inadvertently gets a message from Leia to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan knows the whole time that this is Anakin's son. Practically his adopted brother's son. And he tells him that, your dad's dead, Vader killed him. And starts training Luke in the ways of the Force. And he was a wonderful mentor and teacher. He was gentle, he was patient, and you can tell that in his time that he has spent, in the wild, that he's learned the thing that we all do as time goes on. We learn what's really important to us and what isn't, and you can kind of see that. Now, when we meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's played by Sir Alec Guinness, and he's going by the name Ben. And that was one of the aliases he used in his days running around doing covert missions and ops and stuff. And instead of how he was in his youth when he would question, should we do this? Is this a good idea? He's like, hey kid, you need to learn how to use the Force so you can come with me and save this girl in Alderaan. And the kid's like, okay. Like, older Obi-Wan would have been like, is this a good idea? So he starts training Luke in the ways of the Force. And they discover the Death Star and Darth Vader. They went to the Death Star to rescue Princess Leia. And when they get there, Obi-Wan confronts Vader. I mean, Vader knew he was there, right away. He's like, sense of presence I haven't felt in a long time. Kenobi and Darth Vader battle it out. And Anakin which is totally perfect for the character, he's like,
when we last saw each other, I was but a learner. I am now the master.
And so he's like, yeah, I'm bigger, better, stronger, better than you in every way, Kenobi. And Kenobi tells him, if you should strike me down, I will become more powerful than you could imagine. And he very much like the gangster that he is, just is like, do it, bitch. And Vader kills him. And apparently when a Jedi dies, very little cleanup. Just laundry. So we think, oh, well, so sad. That's the end of it. That's the end of Obi-Wan Kenobi's. But then he comes back and continues training Luke as a Force Ghost. That's really cool. And as a Force Ghost, he tells Luke he's got a sister. Like, damn, Obi-Wan, you're like sitting on my whole life and secrets here. Like, that's insane. If you want a secret, Cap, tell Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because dude literally took it to his grave. the Obi-Wan Kenobi show that just came out yesterday, as of the airing of this video. We'll go more into depth on what was going on with Obi-Wan in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And I'm pretty stoked about that. And it should be taking place a little bit before... It takes place a little bit before Rebels. So, it takes place around the same time that Solo: A Star Wars story came out. So, I'm excited to see if we get any surprises there. I hope so. Well, there you have it, my little nerdlings. That's all I've got for you right now on Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. And my Obi-Wan Kenobi, we'll call it Sands of Tatooine look. That was a weird sound I just made. Come here tomorrow, Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're going to sit and talk about the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So make sure you set your reminders. Again, make sure you like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Double check and make sure you're still subscribed, because sometimes the purge gets us. We are, of course, on all the socials. Just search Comics and Cosmetics. If you would like to be up to date on what is going on with the channel, where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, because I do show up on other podcasts and shows, then I suggest you follow us on Twitter at D_Sanssouci. If you would like more Comics and Cosmetics than you get every Saturday and Sunday, then check us out on Patreon. I throw in some behind the scenes stuff, my schedule, so you get to know what's coming out. No one else does, just you patrons. Ow. And there's even swag. You get little gifts every couple of months, depending on what tier you're at, and it's pretty cool. And of course, we've got merch! That's right. Go to tpublic.com. Right there. Check out our merch store. We've got shirts, hoodies, baby onesies. We've got everything. So, if you'd like some sweet merch, Comics and Cosmetics style, then make sure you check that out too. If you've got a favorite Obi-Wan moment, or if you've got something that you'd really like to see in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, leave a comment down below. Yeah, I check those a lot. I like talking to you nerds. That's why I'm here. So again, nerdlings, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me today and talking about Obi-Wan. Have a wizard weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.